Hello everyone, welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 9th of June. My name is George Glass and joining me today is Dave Truman and Ethan Afwery. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So let's get into the situation report. Just one this week. This is more information on a critical Fortinet vulnerability that we covered in May. That is CVE 2025-32756. This was reported as being actively exploited in the wild, with attackers using crafted AuthHash cookies to gain control of affected systems. However, a new development is that a proof of concept exploit is publicly available. Fortinet has confirmed the exploitation, particularly targeting FortiVoice, and as always, we urge immediate patching for that vulnerability. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. So looking at the rest of today's briefing, I'm going to be talking about a critical vulnerability in Roundcube Webmail. Dave will be talking about a campaign targeting CFOs, and Ethan will be presenting this week's Ransomware Round Up with news on former Conti Group members and Interlock ransomware. So let's talk about this new Roundcube vulnerability. This is being tracked as CVE 2025-49133, and it's a post-authentication remote code execution vulnerability affecting Roundcube Webmail. This stems from improper input validation and the handling of a URL parameter, the underscore from URL parameter, during an upload action. The application essentially fails to validate this parameter, allowing an attacker to inject a malicious serialized PHP object that gets deserialized on the server, leading to remote code execution. Important to note that exploiting this vulnerability requires the attacker to have valid credentials. Of course, that could be gained via phishing or some other credential compromise. But in practice, an attacker who compromises any regular user's email account could leverage this flaw to escalate to remote code execution on the mail server itself. Roundcube released patches for this on June the 1st. So it's important to patch to version 1.6.1.1 and 1.5.10 for the latest long-term support branch. This vulnerability has existed for a long period of time, and it affects all versions of Roundcube Webmail before those versions I just mentioned. So that's 1.5.10 and 1.6.11. All versions are affected. With that, I will now hand over to Dave to talk about campaign targeting CFOs. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. Trellix Email Security detected a recent spear-phishing campaign targeting chief financial officers in banking, energy, insurance, investment sectors across Europe, Africa, Canada, Middle East, and South Asia. The attack was detected on the 15th of May 2025 and had the goal of deploying the legitimate open source NetBird remote management tool. The campaign begins with an email posing as a recruiter working for Rothschild & Co. with a strategic opportunity. The email appears to have a brochure attached, which in fact is a Firebase hosted file protected by a math-based captcha. Once the victim solves the captcha, a zip file is downloaded. The zip file contains a Visual Basic script that creates a folder C:\temper into which it downloads and then executes a second Visual Basic script using wscript.exe. The second script downloads another zip file, this one containing two Microsoft installer files, one for NetBird and one for OpenSSH. The script then extracts them and executes both silently. After the installers have finished, the VBS script creates a hidden local administrator account with the username of justuser. Then it starts the RDP server and configures it to start on boot. It configures a scheduled task for NetBird persistence and removes any desktop shortcuts created by the installers. This is both an enticing and realistic looking phishing campaign that could fool many users. User education, email scanning, and a good EDR, along with rules to detect suspicious uses of WScript, are recommended for mitigating the risk of this campaign. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Dave. And now it's time for the Ransomware Roundup with Ethan. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, George. An anonymous cyber vigilante named Gang Exposed launched a campaign to expose some cybercrime gangs, including Conti and TrickBot. Claiming their mission is to fight against an organized society of criminals known worldwide, Gang Exposed has been leaking sensitive data like real names, photos, aliases, and private chat logs of key ransomware operators. Among those unmasked is Vitaly Kovalev, also known as Stern, a leading figure in TrickBot and Conti. His identity was verified by German authorities. Another major name revealed is Vladimir Kvitko, or Professor, a top Conti leader believed to be living in Dubai. Also exposed was a particularly brutal Conti leader known as Target, infamous for launching attacks on hospitals during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Gang Exposed says their goal is to rid society of at least some of them by shining a light on these hidden criminals and disrupting their operations. Their leaks have even included details about Conti's financial networks and activities in Dubai, potentially giving law enforcement the intelligence needed to impose sanctions or make arrests. Next slide. Thank you. Interlock is a major ransomware threat that first appeared in September 2024. Since then, it has attacked numerous organizations around the world, especially healthcare networks and universities. One of the group's go-to tactics is called ClickFix, where they pretend to be IT support tools to trick users and gain access to systems. One of the most serious attacks happened in May 2025 when Interlock hit Kettering Health, a large healthcare provider. This cyber attack caused major disruptions to patient care, forcing medical staff to go back to using pen and paper. Interlock later claimed responsibility and leaked 941 gigabytes of sensitive data, including medical records, payroll info, and even scanned passports. At the heart of Interlock's operations is a powerful tool called NodeSnake, a remote access Trojan or rat. This malware, written in JavaScript, usually arrives through phishing emails. Once it is inside a system, it hides by posing a harmless Chrome updater entry in the Windows registry. From there, it quietly gathers information, steals data, and can even run commands in real time to stay in control without being noticed, highlighting Interlock's stealth, persistence, and involving nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ethan. And that is all we have time for this week. If you have any questions, please remember to contact us at cti@kroll.com. See you next week and have a great day.